So my name is Omar Rabasad. It is 3:40 p.m., October 25th, 2019. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the tweets that I tweeted at ROSHINI 911. Those were mine. I'm also going to talk about the ongoing targeting and the ongoing attempts to have me mentally committed and removed from my home. I have demonstrated the technologies being used to set me up and frame me, the remote technologies. I've talked about the flagging being a cover for trafficking under the guise of contracting the surveillance and subcontracting and subcontracting, which means that just about anybody can stalk a target, harass a target, incite their anger, set them up, frame them, and it's all fixed. So the meaning of being a target is it's all fixed. A target is someone that is under suspicion. A target is supposed to be an enemy of just about anybody, everybody, the country, maybe. So it's turned out. The person is turned out. So I heard that under the Anti-Terrorism Act, and this is talked about outside the window, I was signed in as a possible spy, which of course makes me some sort of a person under suspicion. Of course, I'm not a spy. This is an example of the flagging system that's meant to target real terrorists being misused, abused in order to flag innocent people, to make them targets. So anything could be done to them. They could be used for whatever reason under cover. It's all fixed. So a target is a tool. Anybody could use a target without any repercussions, any criminal repercussions. And they could go on using the person no matter what the person says. It doesn't matter who the person is reporting these criminal activities to. That party will not take any action against the perpetrators. This is what it means to be a target. So since that stage is set for a target, there is a lot of money to be made to flag innocent people and kids, put them in the system, use them, and make money off them. It's all fixed. It's all covered. So there's a motive, a real motive that can generate a whole lot of revenue for criminals. So in my case, somebody in this building, 25 Bamberg Circle in Toronto, told lies to the police and flagged me. I'm coming home late when I was really taking courses at the University of Toronto while working full-time. Things like this. I come home at 1 o'clock in the morning, working late at night, maybe working late on the job, or coming from school, like I just said. But these real life situations are taken by perpetrators who intend to use targets for criminal activity, twisted, reported to the dirty cops who are taking part in the trafficking, and flagged people like myself. And this is exactly what happened here. So there is money to be made from targets. The more targets there are, the more money criminals can make off them. So, having said that, it is lucrative for criminals to target as many people as possible and put as many people as possible on the list and use them, abuse them, harass them, use them for experimentation, use them for whatever reason you like. Take them off the system, sign them out, use them, put them back in, and eventually it's understood between the community who knows the person as a target because the target is turned out, and the cops who flags the person, that eventually the target will be disposed of. After the target is used up, the target is disposed of. So in this building, I am being used for experiments. And my tweets and my videos document those experiments. The use of directed energy weapons, the tests that I'm put through, the crashing of my computer, the changing of the settings remotely in my computer, testing me, registering me in and out, the person with the receipt in the building passing me around the building, the residents in the building who had taken turns to look at me inside of my home and hit me with these technologies and make reports about me and discipline me according to what they like or they don't like. I'm not sweeping my floors in the kitchen, so increase the power on the microwave setting, on the electrical setting when they hit me. So this is the experiment. This is just one part of being targeted. So having said that, and this is ongoing in this building, 25 Bamberg Circle, it's an ongoing attempt to have me mentally committed by twisting real life situations. I was walking back and forth with a knife in my hand somewhere, not quite sure, reported 3 times. There's a permanent flag. All these things are part of being targeted and repeatedly flagged to be disposed of eventually. Because the more suspected criminal activity you're reported with, then the more the disciplining, the higher the power, and the faster you're going to die, basically. And if really powerful people are involved, rich people involved, and after they violate you, they will not let you stick around for long, because then you're going to talk and you're going to fight back. So this is what's going on here at 25 Bamberg Circle. I'm not a prostitute. I was never a prostitute. I was never involved in any criminal activity. I am not right now involved in criminal activity. I don't intend to become involved in any criminal activity. I do not solicit because I am not a prostitute. Anybody saying I solicited them is obviously lying. The lies that my family are telling is because they are infiltrated. They are infiltrated by the police, and they are infiltrated by the teams working with the police to isolate me, to degrade, to artificially criminalize, in order to traffic my use. It's not only for experimentation, but my use is to be trafficked. So criminals and pimps, like I heard Rick from the Jane and Finch area, these people can make money off of you because there is no physical sexual activity in my part. So it has to be voyeurism, somebody's looking at you. It has to be masturbation rings. It has to be remote rape rings, like hooking you up to some sort of a remote technology that porn sites use, haptic technology, where remote signals can imitate the sex act or the sensation of the sex act. And there's a real live person on the other side of the computer manipulating this technology that's around the unit, around the bed, above, below, beside, logging on to you like a computer, just like you'd log on to a computer. And this is a fact because my spectrum analyzer picks up the signals when I'm logged on. If there was a camera, just a camera, then there would be no signals. But my detector picks up the signals when somebody logs on. And if there's more than one person, then the signals increase, the strength of the signals increase. So there's absolutely no doubt that people are logging on to me, much like they're logging on to a computer. And that being the case, then 1 million people can log on to you at the same time or serially. And if it's going on for years, then yeah, it could be millions of people. But this is the way of the future. This is the way of the future. This is everybody's going to be chipped. Eventually people are going to be chipped. People are chipping themselves more and more. It's very common now to have a chip in you for medical reasons, for tracking reasons. Old people are chipped for tracking reasons, safety reasons. So more and more in the future, chips are going to be used and inserted in our bodies for various reasons. So people can log on to you while you're sleeping. This is the way of the future. Maybe you'd know that the person is logging on to you, looking at you for safety reasons if you're an older person. So that's a legitimate reason to be logged into. But criminals are taking advantage of these technologies and chipping, or a chip is not necessary, just logging in to a person using some sort of other a signature, like a biometric signature, like a retinal scan or electromagnetic signature of the heart, and using that to identify you and track you and log into you. And yeah, they can simulate sex with you. Now, while you're not a prostitute, and since you're not doing it without, since you're not being accessed with consent, you did not consent. In my case, I definitely did not consent to this sort of logging into and being accessed. Then you're not selling yourself, but the person is this is a remote rape. So if you're not consenting, it is rape. But the person is selling you with a link and a password to log on to you. And I suspect that there are people in this building, there are residents in this building, and Chinese traffickers. Not only the Chinese traffickers, but I think it started with the Chinese traffickers selecting and training and selling to other gangs, Indian gangs, Sri Lankan gangs, black gangs, Russian gangs. They trade between each other. So the conversations I'm tweeting about outside the window are about pimps who are signing me out of the system from dirty cops who are flagging me, colluding with the people who are selling. And they are subcontracting to other people. So they're dropping names. So I heard the name Daniel. I have absolutely no idea who Daniel is. But I heard Daniel is logging on to me. Now, somebody logged on to me this morning. I heard a black sounding guy outside his unit within my earshot because my window is slightly ajar. Somebody logged in this morning, and sure enough, at 6 o'clock, my microwave detector alarm went off, and I started feeling really hot, and my heart rate started going up right at 6 o'clock. So somebody logged in at 6 o'clock. This is the reality of the technology. This is the reality that we're in right now. Just because people are not talking about it openly doesn't mean it's not happening. It's obviously happening. It's very possible. The technology being used is very, very common, cheap. And if it's all fixed and everybody knows about it and nobody's talking about it and nobody's acknowledging that it's being done, then a lot of people will be tempted to take part, and they do. As well as kids, it's all covered. It's all fixed. Now, if you go to a courtroom and you have all this evidence and you have all the logical explanations as to why it's happening and the access to the technology and the motive, and a judge still says to you, I think you're nuts, it's not happening. Well, I think the judge would be, in my opinion, the judge is being irrational. And and if not irrational, then he's deliberately taken part in a cover-up of a crime. Because if all the factors are there, the technology, easily accessible, cheap, the motive, the flag, which means it's all covered and it's all fixed, which means that you're a target to be used, you're a tool, and you're going to be a magnet for criminals wanting to use you. And all these elements are there, the flag being the major element. And a judge still says, gee, Uma, nothing is going on here. Something is wrong with you. Then that judge, in my opinion, is being irrational and is taking part, if not being irrational, then it's taking part in a cover-up. Because a judge has to rule according to what's presented to him. And if all the elements are there and you prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt, then the judge have to rule according to the law. Anyway, it's going on 16 minutes, so I'm going to stop there. I'm actually going to, in my next video, I'm going to discuss a charge that was put through against me. I was framed by the police, because if the police didn't come and charge me with the knowledge that they had, that I was flagged and I was a target, I would not have been traumatized the way I was as a result of that charge. So, I mean, the police was responsible for that act, directly responsible. The police have a lot of leeway and a lot of space to maneuver in which they can make decisions, whether to do something, whether to charge somebody, whether to warn them, whether, there's a lot of leeway there, a lot of power. There's a space in which they've got a lot of power over people. They can kill. And the decision that they make within that space is influenced by whether a person is a target or not. The fact that a person is a target determines the decision that they make. And I'm going to discuss that in my other video, because I was completely and utterly traumatized. And there's been lifelong psychological harm that's been done, that I suffer from. That all they had to do, that could have been prevented, and all they had to do was just ask me a few questions. But the decision not to ask me the questions was based on the fact that I was a target. But we'll go into more detail the next time. Talk to you another time.